In the spotlight of celebrity circles, there are always two kinds of people: the ones who cheer you on when you're on top, and the ones who try to warn you before you fall. Monique was the second kind. She didn't sugarcoat her words, and she didn't whisper behind closed doors. She said it to Shannon Sharpe's face, loud and clear. Stop chasing these young girls. They don't want your love. They want your lifestyle. That moment, back in early 2024, was brushed off like it was part of the comedy bit. Laughter erupted, Shannon giggled through it, and then kept doing the same thing. But now, the laughter's gone, and what's left is a lawsuit worth $50 million, a collapsing media empire, and a man who once stood proud, now looking like he's crumbling in slow motion. Monique didn't curse him. She didn't mock him to be cruel. She warned him. She stood on that comedy stage, mic in hand, and told a truth only few had the courage to say. But Shannon? He chose clout. He chose ego. And now, everything's unraveling right in front of him. That clip from Club Shay Shay, the one from February, it's gone viral again. It wasn't just a talk. It was a prophecy. Monique, with her raw energy, reminded him he wasn't invincible. She said if he kept chasing women half his age, it would end in disaster. He didn't listen. Now the world is watching the fallout. The headlines came like thunder. Model files $50 million lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe. Social media exploded. Fans were stunned, but some, especially Monique's audience, they weren't surprised. They'd seen it coming. Gabriella Zuniga, a young woman Shannon allegedly met at a gym, wasn't just another influencer. According to court documents and leaked messages, she was allegedly involved in a relationship with Shannon that spiraled into chaos. The messages were disturbing. Talks of money, control, and a power dynamic that didn't sit right with most. Some messages hinted at racial undertones that many found deeply uncomfortable. The internet couldn't stop buzzing. And while Shannon denied everything publicly, he never released his side of the messages. Only hers. That raised eyebrows. What was he hiding? Gabriella claimed Shannon offered her millions to stay silent. $10 million, reportedly, to drop the suit and walk away. She refused. She didn't sign the NDA, and now she's taking him to court with receipts. The fallout was immediate. Sponsors started pulling back. ESPN, where Shannon had just carved out a new home, grew eerily quiet. His own podcast network was thrown into limbo. The $100 million deal he was about to sign? Frozen. Corporate. Silence is loud when money's on the line. And through it all, Monique's voice echoed louder than ever. "Leave that white alone," she joked on stage. But behind the laughter was a message. Shannon's obsession with image, youth, and control. It was always going to explode. And now it has. Monique isn't new to controversy. She's been blackballed, underestimated, and called everything under the sun. But one thing no one can ever say: that she lied. When she stood on stage during Cat Williams' Heaven on Earth comedy tour and brought up Shannon Sharpe, the crowd erupted. They weren't just laughing, they were nodding. Monique told the crowd what she told Shannon long before. He needed to stop entertaining girls who weren't emotionally grown. "You better find someone who'll love you after round 4, she said, making the audience howl. "Somebody who'll make you eggs, toast, and apple butter, not just ask for a Starbucks card." The message was blunt. The delivery? Classic Monique. Real, raw, unfiltered. But this wasn't just about a joke. It was a cultural moment. Monique wasn't kicking a man while he was down. She was holding a mirror up to his face. And what he saw wasn't pretty. That's why he's mad. That's why, according to insiders, Shannon is livid. Because while he's drowning in drama, she's speaking truth with a mic in her hand. What hurts more is that no one from his inner circle came running to defend him. The industry that once praised him, silent. Friends, ghost, sponsors, gone. And Monique? She's just telling it like it is. She was never his enemy. She was his warning. But he laughed. And now, as she stands tall and fearless on stage, the world can see she wasn't joking. She was right. Shannon's public image was always polished. Suits sharp, sound bites smooth, muscles flexed like his opinions, but that image has started to crack. Bad. And what made things worse? His comments about his own daughters. In a recent Nightcap episode, while discussing wedding budgets, Shannon said he'd only spend $30,000 on each of his daughters' weddings. He laughed it off, suggesting they could serve spaghetti and fried fish. The internet didn't laugh with him. Fans were furious. How could a man allegedly offer $10 million to hush a lawsuit, but put a tight cap on his own daughter's happiness? The math wasn't mathing. The respect he once had, fading, fast. People started comparing receipts. The leaked texts showed Gabriella allegedly charging $25,000 per cheek. And Shannon? He didn't even blink. Yet he had jokes when it came to his girls walking down the aisle. It didn't sit right. Not with fans, not with fathers, not with daughters. The hypocrisy was too loud to ignore. And Monique's warning rang louder than ever. "You chasing young clout chasers," she said, "and they gonna bite you." And now, the bite marks are everywhere. Shannon's past interviews, old podcast clips, they're resurfacing. People are analyzing everything now. Every word, every joke, every woman. This wasn't just a misstep, it was a pattern. And people are starting to realize maybe Shannon Sharpe wasn't the wise uncle we thought he was. Maybe he was just good at hiding what was always there. Section 5. When the mask slips, the world sees everything. It didn't stop with Gabriella. Now, the internet is pulling receipts left and right. Fans found old clips of Shannon Sharpe telling wild stories about his relationships. One in particular left even Deion Sanders speechless. Shannon recounting intimate moments with way too much detail. He overshared, and not in a funny, relatable way. It was cringeworthy, it was desperate, and it painted a picture of a man who felt he had something to prove. Then came another shocker. Shannon admitted on air that he once paid for a woman's divorce. Why? Because he believed she was the one. She was married. He didn't care. He paid off the other guy just to have her. That level of control, that need to own the narrative, it didn't sit right, especially now. People are calling it what it is, a pattern of behavior, a man using power, fame, and money to try and mold women into his fantasy. And in Gabriella's case, it backfired. Big time. Add in the race undertones from their leaked texts, and it gets even messier. Messages that hint at fetishization. Messages that feel exploitative. And Shannon? Still silent. Still refusing to release his side. That silence is loud. It speaks volumes. And now, Monique's voice is the only one echoing with truth. She saw this before anyone else. She tried to warn him. And now, as the internet holds court, Shannon's reputation is on trial. And the verdict? It's looking. Grim Shannon Sharpe wasn't just building a podcast. He was building an empire. His name was everywhere. Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, co-hosting alongside Stephen A. Smith on First Take, and even launching his own media umbrella. Shay Media was positioned to become the next powerhouse brand in sports commentary and culture. Sponsors were circling, networks were bidding, there were whispers of a mega deal, one worth more than $100 million. It would have been one of the biggest podcast contracts in modern media. Then, everything froze. On April 18th, just 3 days before Gabriella dropped the lawsuit, Front Office Sports reported that Shannon was inches away from closing the deal. All his shows, his image, his brand, were about to be consolidated into one massive package. And then, boom. Like a match to gasoline, the news of the lawsuit spread. Allegations, leaked texts, screenshots, audio clips. Suddenly, no company wanted their name next to his. The deal? Put on ice. His sponsors? Quiet. His fans? Divided. Monique, once mocked for being too real, too blunt, suddenly looked prophetic. While Shannon built his empire on charisma and catchphrases, she stood on stage and told him the truth. She tried to steer him towards something solid, a grown woman, a real relationship, not fantasy, not control. Now the $1 million podcast dream is slipping through his fingers. The money may have been promised, but promises vanish fast in the face of controversy. In this world, perception is everything, and Shannon's public image? It's cracked, maybe beyond repair. If Shannon thought the worst was behind him, he was wrong. As the days passed, more voices started to stir, not supporters, not allies, former colleagues, industry insiders. People who had stayed silent for years suddenly weren't so quiet anymore. The whispers turned into stories, the stories into clips, podcast rants, old interview moments. Everything was being pulled back. Out into the light, people started putting together a timeline. They weren't just reacting to Gabriella, they were asking how long this behavior had been happening. Was she the first, or just the one who exposed it? Meanwhile, Shannon kept his head down. No big statements, no real defense, and the fans noticed. They asked, why is he only releasing her messages? What did he say? What's hiding on his side of the conversation? And here's the truth the public's waking up to. This wasn't just a one-off scandal. It was a reflection of something deeper, something uncomfortable. Monique didn't make this up. She saw it coming. She gave him advice. He laughed it off, thinking charm could clean up any mess. But charm doesn't erase screenshots. Money doesn't erase the internet. Now, every tweet, every soundbite, every scandal. It's part of a bigger narrative. Shannon Sharpe went from respected voice to cautionary tale. And the people who once celebrated him, they're watching from the sidelines, silent, because even they know this story isn't done. In the world of entertainment, reputation is gold. It's the thread that ties everything together. Sponsors, networks, partnerships. But Shannon's gold is losing its shine fast. Disney owns ESPN, and Disney doesn't play when it comes to public perception. They care about headlines, not Courtroom verdicts. They don't care if you win the case. They care if your name trends for the wrong reasons. And Shannon's name? It's been trending for all the wrong reasons. Even if he walks away from the lawsuit without paying a dime, the stain won't wash off. The texts, the threats, the power dynamics, they're out there now. They've been screenshotted, dissected, and archived forever. His girl dad image? Tarnished. His motivational speaker persona? Fading. Because people don't see a role model anymore. They see the contradictions, the double standards, the jokes that weren't funny, the women who weren't respected. And Monique? She's still standing, still unbothered, still speaking truth with fire in her voice. She warned him. She cared enough to be real. And for that, he tried to clown her. Now he's the punchline. Fans aren't just watching for the outcome of a lawsuit. They're watching for the outcome of a man. Can he rebuild? Can he make amends? Or is this it? The end of a legacy built on bravado, undone by silence. Whatever happens next, one thing's for sure. The mic Monique held, it echoed louder than any headline ever could. And what it said wasn't a joke. Shannon Sharpe fumbled more than a lawsuit. He fumbled the warnings, the wisdom, the truth. Monique wasn't hating. She was helping. But he laughed. And now the price is heavy. Whether or not he can pay it in court, the real question is, can he pay it in the court of public opinion? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is this the final chapter of Shannon's career? Or will he find a way back from the wreckage? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next chapter in this saga might be even wilder than this one.